we are two parts of Guest Design House. My name is Gareth. This is Daryl. And
Kylie's sat at the back.
Kylie's over at the back. We call ourselves GDH. It stands for Guest Design House, or Gareth, Daryl, and her. And I encourage all of you to go and speak to Kylie at the end of the workshop and bombard her with questions, please. I want to get a sense of who's in the room. So I'm wondering if a couple of people wouldn't mind just telling me what, like in 2 words, what their businesses are, what they do. Is that okay?
Anyone?
Volunteers?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm in music, so I'm very interested in like personal branding.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Anyone else?
Diversity and inclusion.
Diversity
so
and inclusion.
Trying to figure out how to get people to see that really quickly.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Retail.
In retail. Okay, excellent.
Okay.
And I'll just change the slide 1 sec. It's better, more sexy. Was anyone mind telling us, again, in brief, if possible, one thing you're hoping to take away from today, one thing you're hoping to learn from this workshop? Who doesn't mind putting up their hand? Audience.
Okay.
As in?
Just, I think one thing is like, what do I think is cool, but what actually works with my audience? How can I get a better understanding of my audience?
Okay, great, thank you.
How to align your branding with your values.
Great,
Cool.
thank you. Any more? Okay. Oh, does someone have a hand up?
Go on, go. No.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm not important. So.
I didn't.
There's so many options when it comes to branding. You can do like so many different colours, so many different themes, fonts, and whatever. How do you actually choose? How do you say no to something to say yes to one thing when your company can represent so many different things to so many different people?
Okay,
Okay. Interesting.
cool. I can tell from the questions that the first thing I'm going to state might already be obvious to some of you, but a lot of times when we are in conversations about branding, there's a little bit of confusion about what that term even means. So I want to start by just clarifying what we mean in this workshop today when we talk about brand. So your brand, no matter what you do, is how you, your product, or your company are perceived by those who experience it. So there are many different ways to experience a brand, and there are many different thoughts, feelings, emotions, memories that a brand can evoke, and all of that contained is what your brand actually is. Everything else is there to be controlled and contrived and designed to create that perception. And we're going to get deeper into that, but I want you to understand that's what your brand is. Your brand isn't your logo or your color scheme, or it's about how you're viewed. Okay? So just to labor the point, this is a logo, this is not a brand. When we think about Apple, when we think about the Apple brand, there's all sorts of things that come to mind. It would be the products, the great service, the amazing software, the way they answer the phone, and all the memories you have of using our Apple products. As you might tell, I'm an Apple guy. Using the Apple products, all of that, when you say the word Apple, something comes to all of your minds, even if you're not an Apple person. That's the power of brand. And for people like me who are kind of obsessed, the brand actually breeds that loyalty in their customers, because that's how powerful the brand is.
It's not one tangible thing. You can't put it's not just one thing. If everyone's interpretation of, say, Apple, it's got a completely different story of their different experience, but it's just not one thing that you can put your finger on.
But Apple has designed it that way, so that when you think about their brand, you have a very specific idea in mind. And we're going to get deeper into that, but I want to understand the power, the reason. I mean, you all understand it because you're here, But the power of your brand is that if you can start to create loyal customers because they identify with your brand, that's perfect for any business. And that's what obviously Apple have done so well. And great brands are actionable, compelling, and true. Now, I'm going to get deeper into what all of this means, but I want you to remember these 3 words. Actionable means that for you and anyone who works within your organization, when you have a great brand, it kind of tells you what to do. If you set out your store that you are the most friendly, approachable, and open business in your market, then you know that you have to answer the phone with good morning and not with Smith & Co. Do you know what I mean? Because you said that's what you are. You're open, approachable, and friendly. It's compelling. Compelling needs. It's one thing to know what you need to do, but it's another thing to actually want to do it. And it's also for your customers as well. They need to be compelled by your brand to buy from you. And true, you have to be able to live up to what you promise in your branding. So I might use that word a bit, but when we create in branding, we're trying to basically create promises that you're making to your audience that you then live up to. And if you live up to those promises, after they choose you, that's where you start to get loyalty. Okay? So, the 5 elements of building a brand. We're going to talk about basically how we go about building brands, step by step, and hopefully by the end, you'll have an idea, especially with the workbooks, so you can go away and start to work on building your individual brands as well. So we have identity, that's one that everyone thinks of, logo, color schemes, typography. We have category, we have position, character, and experience. So identity, I'm going to be doing a bit of reading, but after this we're going to get into the meat and the workbooks. The outward expression of your brand, including its trademark or logo, name, communication style, and visual appearance. Category, the industry or arena in which you choose to compete. Position, how you choose to differentiate yourself from your competitors. Character is the personality of your brand, its ethos and its values. And experience is each and every interaction your customers have with your business, product, or service. And we're going to look at each one of these in turn today to learn about how to build a brand. So very briefly, I'm going to discuss how each one of these elements relates to that journey that we're trying to get all your customers on, or your audience, how to get them from knowing about you to being loyal customers. So your identity, your outward face for the world, how you talk about yourself, what you say, and your outward face, like your colors, your logo, and all that breeds awareness. People see it, and they hopefully like it, and secondly, get an idea of what you do from that, and then thirdly, remember it. So that's what you want to get from your identity. Next is your category. You need to tell customers where you belong as a business or as an artist or whatever, where you belong. Which category should they view you in? And for that, it's about fitting in. We're always trying to stand out as businesses, but this time it's about fitting in and making sure you get your category right. So when someone says, what do? You can say, we do this. And people understand what that is. And it's the same ideally as what they're Googling. Position, now it's time to find out within that category how you stand out from the crowd. Character, your values and your ethos are what's going to relate on an emotional level to your customers. So they might be considering you because you are in their price range, right? But they're going to choose you over someone else in their price range because your brand in some way relates to them on an emotional level. And that's where your character comes in. And then finally is experience. So that's when you deliver on, like I said, all the promises that you made before. And that is where you get loyalty. So now we're going to talk about how we actually go about building your brand. And we've changed the order because you can't start with identity. Quite a lot of the time when people are going about building their branding, and I've done the same thing, you immediately jump to what's the logo going to look like? Because it's that tangible thing, isn't it? That you start to think about what am I going to call my company? What's my logo going to be? What my colour scheme is going to be? Because it's exciting and it kind of feels really tangible. But starting with identity isn't the right way around. You need to start with character. What are your values? Why do you exist? What's your ethos? What do you care about? Does it align with your intended audience? Then, when we work with brands, we then start to research their industry. We want to know as much as possible about the industry that they're in so that we can make sure that what they're doing actually fits in, so that people aren't put off, so that people know how to find them, so that it's recognizable within their industry. Then we look at their positioning and how can we help them stand out as a brand. So you definitely want to fit in, but you also want to stand out from the crowd. Does that make sense? It's not about being so different that people don't recognize your branding and like, I don't know what this company does. Does that make sense? Then we look at experience, and a lot of that weight is on the business themselves. They've got to figure out that experience and that customer journey that they want to create. And then finally, when we've talked about all of that with our clients, then we can really get into their identity and working on what that needs to look like and what it needs to sound like. But we don't just want to start here. So we're going to go through these in turn today. You've all got workbooks. Just to be clear, I'm going to give you some time to look through the workbooks and make some notes and maybe answer a couple of the questions in there. But there won't be time today for you to really fill out the workbooks in detail. And the only way they're going to have value for you is if you take them away and learn the concepts and work on them after today. And if you need any help, you've got our emails on the back, so you can get in touch. But it's important that you just make the useful notes that you need to help you carry on when you leave here today.
It's more of a reference point, so you know what we spoke about today. You just got a reference point that you can go to. So when you do take your workbook away, you can work through it in your own time and do more research.
Okay, let's start with character. So in your workbooks, should see something like this. We'd like you to just spend a couple of minutes. You can do what works for you. Make some notes or talk to people next to you. But just think about these questions, but try and answer them as if you were your business. So I want you to imagine that your business is an actual person. And for those of you who have a business that's centered around your personality, there still might be a persona that you use in that business that isn't directly, completely you. What do you want? How do you want that persona to answer this? Does that make sense? Try and give your business an actual character if you can, and answer these questions. And if they happen to be the same as what you would answer, that's fine. I know there's some, as a team, please talk and get that conversation going. You have 2 minutes.
Yeah. 2 minutes.
2. Let's see how you do with 2 minutes. You're not going to get to answer them all. You're going to have to think about them, right? Maybe answer one.
Try and do it from a perspective of what comes to mind first, rather than really,
What do I do?
No, you can't do anything, it's fine. Because every time you go, you're just speeding through stuff. But it's fine. But by the time I go, and then it's fine. But it's fine, you're doing great, it's fine. So it's fine. I'm just thinking, when I'm editing it, there's no point in me being on the camera. That's what I'm thinking about. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm just going to, I think, sort of stay in this realm. What do you think?
It's up to you, man.
I really think that. I think that's the best option. I can help people and just stay, because otherwise there's no.
Okay.
You know, I can still speak from the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Bear in mind as well, don't feel you have to answer every question now.
Oh, we've only got 5 seconds left. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Sorry. I'll give you. Can I give him 1 more minute? Okay. 1 more minute.
Yeah. Physically, where do you bring the most value? That could be, yeah, it could be your offer in your business, where your business or your brand brings the most value. Think it from there. Yeah, not yourself, unless you're thinking it from a personal branding. I think.
No,
this lady
how?
said.
How? Could
Yeah.
be how do you bring? Maybe it should be how do you bring the most value to?
Yeah. How do you? Yeah.
I'm aware. No. I'm saying how. Could be how. No, could be how. If you help to think about it, how?
How?
In what way do you bring the most value? Okay. Okay, that's a minute. Thank you. The great thing about these workbooks is that you can take them away. And so you get to carry on when you get home. So you'll see the next question in the workbook is to answer the same questions as if you were your customer. So try that. You might have to reword some of the wording in your head, but you answer those questions as if you were your customer, and then you can get to see, your ideal customer. And then you can get to see where, if, and hopefully those things align, your answers will align with your customer's answers. And if they completely don't align, either you've picked your market wrong and you haven't got your customer right, or something in your business isn't working. But we can work that out. You want to see where the overlaps are, and those become your focus. If there's no overlap, you just ignore those things. Make sense?
Spectrum.
Next. Yes. Ignore that. Next. On your slide, in your workbooks, there are. Oh, I'm doing that next. Confuse me. Okay, we're going to look for 3 characteristics that capture the nature of your business. So, let me ask. Yes, Jay.
Yes. How are you doing?
What do you think of Volvo?
Volvo.
Volvo. What 3 words come to mind?
Yeah.
Few words. So, safe. Hey, everybody. I think of safety. I think they've been around a real long time. So maybe like resilience and durability, like the real durable, stern, safe car.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank
If
you.
I'd asked anyone else in the room, by show of hands, how many of you would have said similar words? Right? That is not an accident. Volvo have designed it that way. They chose at some point that they were going to become known as the company that was safe, that was durable, that was reliable. They could have become known as the car company that has cars with wheels. But that would not have helped, right? They've chosen 3 characteristics that have an emotive tone and that help people identify with that brand. So you need to do the same thing and design what people are going to know about you. So in 3 words, I want you to write down 3 words that identify your business. Now, if you need help, there's some spectrums on the page before where you can get to kind of like align yourself between 2 words, and that will help you to just to see where you really fit. But either way, I want you to get to a point where you get to 3 words. On page
5.
No, on page 6, you're going to write down 3 words. On page 5, if you need help, you use the spectrums. Yeah? And if you need even more help, there's lots of words there on the screen and in your books. So just to be clear, you should all be on.
Well, no, you're thinking about your brand and your product. You're not thinking about you. Like, you can be sexy if you're like, I know. Yeah.
If it's hard, if you're still finding it hard, maybe try and think of, has any customer of yours ever described you or left a testimonial or said, oh my gosh, that experience was so this, or that product is so this, or you are so this? Like maybe there's a word that someone said to you that you can adopt, because sometimes it is hard to think of positive words for our own businesses. Okay, I said 20 seconds ago. 20 seconds, exactly 1 minute ago. So I think we're going to have to stop now. I'd like to hear a couple of words that you've written, from each table, a couple of words that you've written down. Maybe...
Yeah, from each table, that'd be good, isn't it?
From each table, yeah.
Each table, yeah.
One
just
from each
quickly.
table. Can someone raise their hand? Okay, hold on. 1 second. Let's make sure we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't have a word, I have a concept because my business is weird. So I'm in social impact measurement, so a little plug for my masterclass that's coming up, guys. So it's basically about helping organizations to use data to prove the social impact they generate through their charitable projects or through their business. So my concept, which is probably cheating because it's 3 words, but it's simplifying the complex.
Simplifying the complex, that's great.
Yeah? Does that
I mean,
work?
it's you didn't follow the instructions.
I didn't.
But that's fine because you got an excellent slogan there. Slogans are important too. We'll talk about that.
But as in
That's really good.
I'm trying to find a word that's like simplify or like helping you to figure out.
So the thing about what you've done there
Yeah.
is you've attempted to describe your business, right? And you've done a really, really good job. That's a great slogan. But what we're trying to do here is find words that describe a personality of your business, not what you do. Does that make sense? Because the personality is going to be the thing that sets you apart from another company that might do a similar thing. And so for you, it might be something like people want to know that you're trustworthy. They want to know that you're reliable. They want to know that you are knowledgeable and skillful. And
Okay.
You see what I mean? It's those kind of words that people want from a company like yours.
Concise, yeah.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Couple more. Yeah. Realistic, friendly, and helpful.
Yeah,
Great.
right.
Thank you. We have one from that table, but go for it.
Well,
You're right. It wasn't 3 words. Go for it. Go for it. Oh, sorry, Kate.
I don't need mic. I think they can hear me.
They can't hear you at home. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I've put imaginative, fun, and quality.
Excellent. And one from this table.
I put imaginative, energetic, and intellectual.
Excellent. Thank you. That table there. Do we have one from that? Oh, yeah. No, not that table.
We put. No, I have to share. Is that okay? So we're business partners, but we didn't look at each other's. I said, you choose 3, I choose 3, and we chose the exact same 3.
Wow.
Can you imagine? All right. I know, right? Well, we should get a prize. So we put innovative, caring, and intellectual.
Wow.
no,
Yeah.
no.
Jay, just for that, for your whole team, we're going to design your branding for you. Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
No. That's not what I said. That's not what I said. I heard something down here. Sorry, let's hear from one from this table.
Okay, I've got helpful, caring, and dependable.
Awesome. Sounds great.
I'm on 3 generations now, so.
That sounds like a great business, whatever you do. I heard on this table, I'm going to out somebody, but they had more than 3 words. I found it difficult to narrow it down to 3. And the reason we ask you to narrow it down to 3 is because you do need something that's actually memorable and doesn't spread you too thin in terms of your messaging. So that's why we try and keep it to just 3 words. Because if you, it is 3 words should be enough to sum up a complex character, even someone as complex as Daryl.
That was a very Daryl.
Yeah. Okay, next. Let's move on to your category. Your category is the space, arena, or industry that your business chooses to compete in. It can seem like a really obvious thing. Like if I said, well, what industry is your business in? Someone might say, oh, I'm in retail, or I'm in the tech space, or I'm in coaching. And those would all be correct answers, maybe, if that's what your business is doing. But you kind of want to be a little bit narrower sometimes when it comes to your category. And remember, what you're doing is you're defining yourself so that A, you know what your competitors look like, what they're doing, and therefore what you should be thinking about. And B, your customers know where to look for you, or when they're looking, they're going to find you. Does that make sense? Mm. If you're too broad, imagine if Sainsbury's just described themselves as a retail brand. It's like, okay, they are, but it doesn't really tell you what they do. And if you're looking for a supermarket in your area, you're not going to type in retail in my area, you know? And if you did, Sainsbury's might come up, but there'd be one of like thousands of different results. So you need to keep it narrow enough that it's specific, but not so narrow that you don't have any competitors and you don't have enough information to draw from the kind of the other people in your space. Because it is important to know where you fit in, what your competitors are doing, down to like what colors they're using and stuff. It's good to know that stuff, whether it be to fit in at some points and to stand out in other ways. Does that make sense? So, and the other part of that, the last thing to consider is you want to make it, again, broad enough that you can grow into that category, that you've got some space to grow, your business has space to grow. So let's say you start out and you make handmade soap. And you decide that your category is the handmade soap category. And so the only competitors you have are handmade soap, and your logo is going to be a hand making soap, and your name is going to be called handmadesoap.com, and that's all you're going to do. Then you just decide later on, actually, I want to make candles, and I want to make body butters, and I want to make other things. That's going to be really difficult to grow out of because you defined yourself so narrowly. Does that make sense? So this one shouldn't take you too long, hopefully. Think about what are my customers going to Google to find me on their first page. Yeah?
Keep it simple. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Think about industries that are familiar, that are top of mind, that you fit in. Yeah. That's what other people are going to be thinking about when they look for you.
No. So just like what category? Yeah. So if you're a house painter, put house painting, but don't put domicile color treatment operative. You see what I mean? Don't get clever. Just be really clear. Position. Most of you probably heard of positioning as a concept before, and we're going to kind of look into that now and get deep into that now. So just wait for Rachel to sit down, and then we'll be okay. Okay, so positioning is a process. It's not something that you just decide and it's done. So this is how we're going to look at it. Within any given space or category or industry, in any business, there are different territories that you cover, different things that you do and have, and the way you approach things that is different for every business, and blah, 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 blah. Let's start again. So in every category, there are different territories in which you can plant your flag and say, this is what we do really well. This is what we want to get known for. And crucially, this is why we're different from our competitors, right? And I want to use Claudette's business, who I've just met, as an example. Claudette has a children's wear business called Bambinos. And so just to help you understand what we mean by these territories, just bear with me, it's going to make so much sense. Claudette's assets, what she has. Maybe in her business she has clothes that are handmade by blind elves in Timbuktu, right? And no one else has that. Or maybe she has a very, very unique, what's it called? Pattern when you sew clothes? Is that very unique patterns? Or maybe she has patents and like a pattern that nobody else has. Maybe she has an amazing app that means that your children can try on the clothes and the app on the iPad, right? That's assets, that's what she has. Next is offer. So maybe Claudette, her product range is really, really broad. Maybe there's, she offers, well, you do offer children's wear for christenings and for school and for other things, lots of other things, right? Maybe it's that, or maybe it's the fact that she offers clothes that are very, very good value, or cheap, or luxury. Skills. Maybe when you go into one of Claudette's shops, you get very, very knowledgeable staff who can give you a tailor-made service and make a suit for your child or a dress for your child that is absolutely tailor-made like no one else. You know, when you go to Marks and Spencer's and you get the bra fittings, that kind of level of service. Approach. So let's say that you've had you've lost a child, and you go into one of Claudette's shops, and the approach that the staff have, the way that they work with you and talk to you and make you tea and just make you feel comfortable and able to kind of and take you through that journey, that might be her selling point. Holding your hand through all of life's ups and downs, something like that.
It's like when you go into certain retailers, you get that personal shopper, and they kind of, hand-hold you through your whole process and help you choose that garment or select that pattern.
Yeah. Or maybe the approach is that all her clothes are eco-friendly and all the deliveries are done by electric cars, and you know what I mean? That could be the approach, the way that she does what she does. And then finally, the mission. So maybe Claudette's shop is just a front because when you buy the clothes there, what her real true mission is that she takes clothes that you don't want anymore and she donates them to children in other countries. Maybe that's the mission that drives it. And maybe that mission is going to be the reason that you choose to go there for your school uniforms instead of somewhere else. Yeah? So everything I just said might be true of Claudette's business, but if she tried to shout about all of those things every time you thought of her brand, it would all get lost. So what Claudette has to do is figure out what are the one or two things that she's going to choose to shout about that's going to set her apart from all of her competitors also doing children's wear. Does that make sense? Yeah? To help you kind of think about how to order what you do, think about assets as being the most tangible stuff, mission as being the most intangible, and everything else in between. You see what I mean? So if you're struggling about, oh, is this part of my offer or part of my assets, or just to help you that way. And then what we'll do is have this on the board as well. So you've got a few examples that may or may not be true for your businesses. The key thing to remember is that you might cover a bunch of this stuff. You're going to have great stuff in every column, or most columns, maybe. But don't worry, you're trying to find the one or two things that you want to focus on and shout about in your market. And if you don't have, let's say, I don't know, you don't have anything to put in the mission column, that's okay. You just won't shout about that. Does that make sense? So, I think you've got this in your workbooks. You should have it in your workbooks.
Yeah.
Yeah? So can you just spend a couple of...
Page 8.
Thank you. Yeah?
It's on page 8. Oh, what do you mean, this particular...
That's a good idea.
Yeah. We can, There'll be when we actually put the video, there'll be a downloadable content.
We can do that, right?
Yeah, we can do that you can access, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so spend a couple of... and don't worry about don't worry about choosing specifics. Just try and fill in each column, and then we can try and see what the most valuable ones are. You know that I'm going to stop you before you finish, right? But it's just get you started. Go for it.
For like consulting-based business, how much of a difference between assets and skills?
That's okay. You've now should have maybe a few words in each column. Some of you probably don't have a word in every single column. But when you're choosing what you're going to focus on, you need to consider the potential of that thing, the importance, and the ease. So just to explain, you need to, let's say you chose to go with, let's say Claudette chose to go with the fact that she offers school uniforms, right? Is there potential in that market for her to grow and get really well known for that? Maybe. Is it important to people? Yes. Is it easy for her to do? Maybe for you. Okay, let me try again. Let's say Claudette was going to specialize in providing school uniforms for children who are 6 foot and above. Okay? Is that important for parents with really, really tall kids? 100%. And is it easy to source? Let's just say it is. Okay? Is there massive potential for market growth? No. Yeah? So that would sit here, but it wouldn't make it into the golden section. Does that make sense? Yeah. I want to spend a bit more time with this thing about ease. So I want you to break down, when you think about how easy it is to do, think about how much it's going to cost you in your business, in money and time. Think about whether it really fits with the things you wrote for your character. Does it really fit with your character and what you said about your business? That's the foundation, remember, for everything we're doing. And then third, will your audience give you permission? So the example that I want to use for that is like, let's say Asda had a board meeting and decided that they were going to now become known as a luxury brand. Would we accept it as customers? No. So it's about how much will it cost? Does it fit your ethos, your character? And will it be accepted? Do you have permission from your audience? I don't know, are we giving them time to do this? Or are we just... How much does it cost?
Cost, time.
Does it fit who you are? Does it fit your character? And will your audience give you permission? Yeah? So maybe I'll give you a minute to see if you can choose something that works within that framework. From your list, yeah?
From your territories that you've already wrote down.
I really hope that helped for you to find how you might chat about your business and differentiate yourself from your competitors. And also, when it comes to defining your identity, this might be the thing that you choose to really make obvious in the way that you design your logos and your color palettes and what typography you use. It might be that thing that you've identified that you choose to put on there, or that might be the thing that gets into your slogan. You know what I mean? That should work in that way. Okay. Finally, we have experience. So, really great, every great brand, they think about every element of your brand experience with that brand. They think about how they answer the phone. They think about what color their website is. They think about how accessible their literature is. Whether you're greeted when you walk in, whether their product is easy to clean. You know, you've bought a juicer and it's really hard to clean afterwards. You know, that's part of the experience. So, one quick story is that I read this week is there's a couple that they went to stay in a hotel, which I should remember the name of the hotel, but I don't. they stayed in a hotel, and why? Press any of the buttons on the TV except for the power. Daryl's going to do this. I'm going to keep talking. So, the woman, the wife, sorry, feminist. The wife, she left her jewelry in the bathroom at the hotel, and the couple checked out. And as they were leaving, one of the hotel staff members ran up to them and was like, "Did you leave your jewelry in the bathroom?" And she was so happy. And at some point, the husband had cause to talk to the owner of the hotel, and the owner told him that they actually designed that. Whenever anyone checks out of that hotel, the first thing someone does is, before they've left the hotel, they go up to the room and they check to see if anyone's left anything. Most hotels don't do that, right? They have a time in their day when they go to that room to clean it, and it's just, they go in order, right? This hotel does that because it's part of the experience of their brand. And it means that that wife still talks about that experience today. And that guy wrote in an article that I read, you know? And if I go to that place and I find that article again, I'm going to stay in that hotel. See? So it's like, that hotel is considered all parts of their brand experience, even the bit after purchase. You see what I mean? It's so important. So I'm probably going to duplicate what I just said, but a brand experience is like the experiences you have with people in your life. Your perception of someone is formed by every interaction you have with them, as well as what you hear about them. It's the same thing with a brand. The brand experience is everything you know about a brand, including everything you have seen, heard, smelt, or tasted. Does that make sense? One other really, really quick way to think about it is, imagine if you met your hero or that celebrity that you fancy or that you really admire, right? And you've heard so much about them, you've seen them in so many places, you know their name and they're so on brand, their Instagram is just perfect. And then you meet them, they can either completely fall short of this idea you have in their head, and that idea that you have, that's their brand, right? They can fall short on the experience, they could exceed your expectations, or they could just meet exactly what you thought. That's what your brand needs to do. So you make your promises, and then when they actually buy from you and interact with your brand, and every time they do, you have to meet their expectations. I know I'm laboring the point, but I just want to say one more thing. If you're a company that makes products for disabled people, but your website isn't accessible, and the fonts are too small, and it's clunky, and the images don't have alt captions, that's going to make it really hard for a disabled person to use that website. So you've broken your promise. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Sweet. So, with that, you should all be able to design the perfect brand experience for your customers. So, kind of want you to, you're not going to get to finish this. Just think about it. In fact, you probably don't even want to pick up your pens. But just think about, before someone buys from you, what are they going to see of you, hear about you? And in an ideal world, what would they see first? How would they progress? How would they buy? What would that buying experience be like? And then after they've bought and used your product or service or whatever, what's the aftercare? What's that after part going to be like? What's the end? You go in, you're looking for a restaurant, you find it, you go in, they give you bread, you sit down, you blah, 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 you eat your food, it's delicious, then now you're waiting to pay, and no one's coming to meet you, and then they come over and they ask you for the bill, but they don't bring the card machine with you. So now you're like,
can I add to that?
Please.
So imagine if you bought, if you bought your Dyson Hoover, you've got it, yeah, you've got your Dyson Hoover. This happened to me recently, where literally the battery died on me. I didn't know how to do or change it and all that, but I literally went onto their website and they had loads of instructional videos on there. So what that allows you to do is basically not only understand the fact that I can get a specific part to change on the Hoover, but it actually gave me an instructional video, so it's easy for me to do. So it's a great experience that I'm having. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, they said to me my Hoover was actually out of warranty. So I watched all these videos, so okay, we don't support that battery anymore, okay. So therefore, okay, well, I was asking them on the phone, not that I can afford it right now, how much it is to buy a new one. because I just had a great experience. So I want to buy a new Hoover, and I've had this, this Hoover for like over 10 years. So it's just that having that element there where, that complete journey. So think about, having experience that you've had and really how you can really look at your own business or your own brand and exceed those expectations within it.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks.
Does that also, because you now want to buy a new one because of that experience?
There we go. Yeah.
So you're now
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
get a new one with the
Yeah.
same brand.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not made me think about another brand. I just thought, I'll try and buy from you again because of, the experience I'm having. Or I've had a great experience.
You won't be able to finish this exercise, but just take some time just to think about it. Make some notes maybe, and you can fill it in later. I'm not going to start until everyone's quiet. Yeah, I hope you did that. Hope it was good. But you're going to have to go away and think more about that. But what I want you to do when you describe the perfect one, I'd like you to kind of talk to other people. Really think about times you've been surprised by a brand or by a business, and think of what kind of extra bits you could put into your business, especially before they buy, during the service or product, and after. What I don't know. What great thing could you do? Send them a basket of muffins, for example. Okay. Now we're going to move on to identity. So, your brand identity should consist of a range of elements that help you communicate your brand effectively. So, we're talking about your visual identity, your logo, your color schemes, your fonts, your photography, your videography, icons. All of that needs to reflect everything we've just discussed. It needs to reflect your character. It needs to fit into the industry. It needs to stand out in the best possible way and really let people know why you're different. And it needs to promise a great experience. Does that make sense? So, and the same is true when it comes to everything you write. And that's as much how you say what you say as well as what you say. So when you write about yourself, you've got to be making good promises. And the way you write needs to give people an idea of your character and give people an idea of where you sit. I can't think of a great example, but there's a way to write about your brand that will make people think that you're expensive. And there's a way to write about your brand that will make people feel comfortable to pick up the phone. Does that make sense? So it's as much about your tone of voice as it is about the way you look and what colours you use and all that stuff. Yeah, let me just move on. This is a brand that I really like. Every brand needs a great basic identity, which includes a logo, color palette, and typography. So that's the logo. That's our slogan. That has not been approved by the whole team yet. This is our beautiful color palette. It actually includes full black and full white as well. So it's not just those 5 colors. These are our beautiful font. And the reason, but there's a reason behind this. The reason that we decided to keep our brand black and white is because it allows our work to speak for itself. We keep our canvas really, really trim so that when we put a screenshot of one of the websites we design or one of the logos that we've made, that is what you see and that is what hits you. And because we want our work to be the reason that you choose us, not our colors. Make sense?
And so you stand out amongst your competitors as well.
Yeah.
They're all about colour.
They're all about colour,
yeah.
Everybody's trying to show off everything, so we're just like, you know what? We're going to let our work speak for itself. And that's the beauty of our branding. Okay. So your brand identity should be consistent across all platforms. it's a style that should be unique to your company and make your business stand out in a wall of competitors. So now we're going to get you to conduct an audit on your current brand. Is anyone a complete startup? They haven't started, they don't have a brand at all right now. Okay, sweet. So you're going to do an audit on your current brand, and it's in your workbook. So you should have.
Yeah.
I don't know what page it's. Can someone tell me?
Page 13.
Page 13. For you guys, just because you don't have a current brand, you can just start to answer the questions as if like designing it. You know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I'm gonna just do something a bit out of sync, guys. Forgive me. I'm going back to this. Just to go a little bit deeper on how you need to think about the elements of your brand. Oh no, we're about to do that, aren't we? Competitor. We're doing it now. Should I find out for myself? Yeah, it's not on mine. Okay, so for each of these things, and this isn't an exhaustive list of how you can build your identity, but you do need to kind of look at your competitors and look at your industry and see, like, is it obvious that I belong in that with my logo? Is it obvious that I belong in that space? We say we do lots of cool shit, but maybe that's going to put off like at the industry. If we want to focus on a specific industry, let's say we want to design websites for banks or for churches or for you know, is that going to put people off? The fact that we said shit in our slogan, you know? Sorry? No, I just did it. I like it. I'm trying to see. I'm reading the temperature of the room. With your color palette, you'll notice if you look, you know, when you get home tonight, if you Google a bunch of charities, you'll see a lot of purple and a lot of blue. That's not an accident, right? Those are colors that evoke certain emotions, and so you need to think about that too. Your fonts, as I said before, like you can use fonts that are really striking and daring, but that doesn't really necessarily work if you're, like, say, in education. Well, your fonts need to be really, really clear and easy to read. They also have to be easy to read when they're smaller as well. Does that make sense? I feel like, and you know, your photography, even the kind of filters you use on your photography or where you source your images from, it really makes a difference. And you'll notice that, like, there's a different style of photography with, like, fashion brands or luxury brands, or food photography as a whole, you know, science and art. You know, there's a style that we go to for each of these things. Daryl could say more about this.
Yeah, it's about the asset. Yeah, I think I should be over there, isn't it? Sorry, I'm trying to hide at the back. Sorry. When you think about imagery and your aesthetic, it's like, if, for instance, an example, you might go on to a food blogger's site, and they have a certain tone and a certain image. It's very clean, it's very clear, and you get a sense of, okay.
Daryl did a bunch of videos, or we did, but Daryl did all the work. A bunch of videos for that company, and there's a certain, I remember you talking about the certain color palette, color grading that you did in the videos that fitted with that industry, and kind of you just accept, like, you don't even need to really watch more than a couple of seconds, and you know that it's a food or beverage video that you're watching because it just has that kind of.
It's there. I mean, you know, I don't know if you've seen Market Row. It's the liquid of the actual the contents of the bottle, so the actual rum itself, and making sure that that's lit properly, and you know, you're kind of, you know, you see that. And you want to automatically just say to you, oh, I want to taste that. But the way we've done the videos, because they were going on social media, is that they had to be punchy. You had to automatically get what it was about straight away. So you don't kind of go off on a tangent like I am now. But yeah, you don't go off, you don't go off a tangent when soon as someone sees that imagery, because you want to be able to capture their attention straight away. So yeah.
Yeah, and it had to fit. So had to fit with their brand as well. So they said they wanted to be known as urban, premium, and I think their other word was like Brixton, right? And so we have to kind of get those 3 words, which is what we asked you to do before, and find a way to distill that visually in a video and get you thinking all of those 3 things without ever saying it. Yeah? Cool, and that's all part of their brand identity, and it all forms part of their brand identity. Okay. So, specifically with logos, because people are very obsessed with logos, including me, and that's what I get really excited about. Your logo needs to be unique, like I said before, and kind of stand out, but also fit in. It needs to be memorable, so that when someone's seen it, even if they don't need your product or service on that day, they remember that you exist because your logo or your slogan did something that stuck in their brain. It needs to be scalable. That means 2 things. It means to be scalable with how you grow your business, but also scalable literally. Like it can get bigger and smaller on a page, and if it's really small, it still makes sense. It needs to be flexible so that you can use it in a multitude of different ways, whether it be in the bottom corner of a PowerPoint, where your logo might be, or whether it be sewn into your uniform, or whether it be overlaid on a photo on Instagram. It has to be flexible in that way. It needs to be cohesive, so it has to fit in with all the other elements of your brand identity. You don't want a logo that looks, like I said with Microsoft, fun and playful and childlike and approachable. If you're trying to show everyone that you're intelligent and scientific and
organized, structured.
Yeah. And it needs to be intuitive, so that designers like us, if you say, "Oh, can you please make us design a PowerPoint for us?" We know how to use your elements. You know how to use your logo. We know where to put it and what backgrounds to use. It has to feel obvious, you know. And there you go. And just to ram the point home, this is a logo that you might have seen before. The Coke branding, this is like just 2 elements of their entire brand. Their branding is so much more than these 2 elements. But the Coke logo, the red color evokes confidence in the person who drinks Coke and reflects the confidence of someone, while the script typeface is all about enjoyment and adventure. It's loose and it's free and it's sprawling. So if coffee is a drink that you have before work in the morning, Coke is the drink you enjoy when you're done in the afternoon. It has that kind of freedom and relaxed nature about it. And Coke prints its logo on a uniquely shaped bottle. This tells customers that they're not getting an imitation. This is the real thing. There are some people who really only drink Coke out of the Coke bottle. When they go to the pub, they want the bottle because they want to know that they're getting the real thing. They're not just getting some fake imitation. And the brand develops credibility and trust in this way. It's iconic now, obviously, but it didn't. It wasn't always iconic. And this is all on purpose. We have reached the end.